Hi, I'm James Woolard, and today I'm going to be talking about animals in disaster. The topics I'll be discussing today are the primary concerns that emergency managers have involving animals in a disaster, the experience of pets and pet owners during Hurricane Katrina, highlighting the mental and psychological impact of that experience, and the policy and guideline changes involving pets and pet owners post-Katrina, primarily from the Pets Act of 2006. I also want to highlight the fact that approximately 50% of American households have pets, emphasizing the necessity of policies and guidelines that accommodate pets and pet owners in disaster scenarios. FEMA identifies several primary concerns for emergency managers involving animals in a disaster, such as disruptions to human food and water supplies, which includes the potential loss of livestock and stored food, the potential spread of disease through livestock, and the potential contamination of water supplies. Another concern is the risk of animal bites to victims and emergency responders from abandoned, scared, and starving animals, which can potentially lead to outbreaks of zoonotic diseases like rabies. A relatively modern concern is the mental health impact of losing or being forced to abandon pets, which results in disaster victims feeling further guilt, loss, and anger, simply making an already bad situation worse. Hurricane Katrina struck New Orleans on the morning of August 29, 2005, leaving much of New Orleans and the surrounding community along the Gulf Coast decimated, requiring the evacuation and relocation of many of the storm's victims. While thousands of victims evacuated and were rescued, there were no guidelines or policies in place for evacuation, transportation, reunification, or public shelter for their pets, resulting in an estimated 104,000 pets being left behind, and an estimated 50,000 to 70,000 pets dying across the stricken Gulf Coast. The scale of the situation and images of distraught pet owners and scared pets on rooftops or in the floodwater brought national and bipartisan attention to the lack of policies and procedures for pets in place. One of the most significant effects of Katrina was the mental health impact on pet owners. According to the Fritz Institute, 44% of people who did not evacuate did so because they did not want to leave their pets behind. Because there were no guidelines in place for pets, thousands of pet owners put themselves in dangerous situations, exacerbating the disaster and requiring more out of already thinly stretched emergency managers. This is because pets have become increasingly considered part of the family, especially by seniors and children, resulting in many victims putting their lives at extreme risk attempting to rescue their pets, including many cases of pet owners dying attempting to save their pets. This only served to hamper rescue efforts, as many who were rescued from flooded areas weren't worried about themselves, they were worried about their pets. And when rescuers, often operating with limited space on boats and helicopters, were unable to accommodate their pets, the pet owners were forced to leave them behind. The mental anguish of not only abandoning your pets, but being forced to, only amplified the suffering of Katrina's victims. The lack of procedures for pets and pet owners only caused more suffering for Katrina victims who had already suffered enough. This bred animosity and disillusionment among victims towards emergency responders and the emergency management system, adding additional strain to an already struggling recovery process. Due to heavy media coverage of Katrina and its victims, the whole country witnessed the amount of pets left behind, and the desperation and the determination of many pet owners to save their pets, as well as the misery of owners who were forced to abandon theirs. This attention resulted in the Pets Evacuation and Transportation Standards Act of 2006, or the PETS Act, which was introduced to the House of Representatives on September 22, 2005, a little over 3 weeks after Katrina. The act amended the Stafford Act to require emergency managers at all levels ensure that they can address the needs of pets and pet owners during and after a disaster. It also authorized federal agencies to provide assistance for pets and pet owners. The results of this legislation can already be seen in action during Hurricanes Harvey and Irma, where while the process wasn't completely flawless, animals were evacuated and rescued en masse, and local animal shelters set up hubs after the storm to reunite pets and their families. In conclusion, the ability of emergency responders to meet the needs of pets and pet owners during a disaster is crucial for a successful short and long-term recovery, as the impact of being forced to abandon your pet can long outlast the physical destruction of a storm. And while the process isn't perfect, emergency responders have made massive strides since Katrina. Here are my sources. Here are the sources for the images used. Thank you.